In Batman and Robin.
A young hero battles the Lord of the Underworld in Hercules.
And Julia Roberts has only 4 days to win back an old lover in My Best Friend's Wedding.
George Clooney takes over as Batman, and Robin, played by Chris O'Donnell, joins him in combating Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin, one of 5 new summer movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, and boy, was I shocked by the new Batman movie. It's so overproduced. Every scene is so action-filled that the movie does all of the thinking and emoting for us, and you just sit there looking at dazzling effects, yes, but you still feel bored. Add to that an unending parade of leering, double entendre jokes centered on the male anatomy, and you have an extravagant, often tasteless bore. I saw plenty of walkouts at the public screening I attended, and I would have been there with them. Here's the opening action scene as Batman and Robin first encounter Mr. Freeze in the Gotham Museum of Natural History. He's trying to steal a giant diamond.
You are not sending me to the cooler.
So far, so good. Too bad we're only 10 minutes into the movie as the scene continues.
Stay cool, bird boy.
Batman has another adversary in the film, a lissome creature known as Poison Ivy, played by a languorous Uma Thurman. One problem with her character, she spreads poison, but no one itches. They just swoon.
Why are all the gorgeous ones homicidal maniacs? Is it me?
Part of the byplay between Batman and Robin involves jealousy.
She's infected us with some sort of pheromone extract.
Oh, is that what it is, Bruce? I'm under some kind of magic spell?
She wants to kill you, Dick.
Well, I've already delivered my criticism of Batman and Robin. The action sequences are overstuffed. They're burdened by wall-to-wall music. The joking is all below the belt. George Clooney is a good-looking bore in his role, and boring is the last word I would have expected to use so often in describing such a high-powered and, again, well-produced but overproduced Batman movie.
I didn't like it either, Gene, although I guess I liked it a little more than you did. I would give it 2 stars. How many would you give
That's
it?
exactly what I'm giving, Roger.
Okay, fine. It is true that the action sequences are so busy that you can't get involved in them. They're too hard to follow. It's like there's a pinball machine with all 5 balls on the machine at the same time. And as for Clooney as Batman, you know, I realize this time it doesn't matter who plays Batman.
Right.
I think they cast him according to the chin, which is all you can see when he has the costume on, because there's no real interest in the Batman and Robin characters. It's always the villains. Yeah. And these villains are not really up there with Jack Nicholson, Danny DeVito, Tommy Lee Jones. But even apart from that, there were so many questions about Batman and Robin that would be interesting to answer if the movie had any serious interest in its characters.
Also, but Tim Burton is another level of filmmaker than Joel Schumacher, and Tim Burton puts a psychological approach in his filmmaking that is at least more interesting. We've liked the other pictures. Here, you're quite right. There is nothing, there's no human element. When the butler is the one thing that you respond to emotionally because he may die, that's a sad commentary.
And his niece comes from England, Alicia Silverstone, without a British accent, and it's kind of a disappointment as Batgirl. Actually, I did like Uma Thurman, though, as Poison Ivy. She has some good
Wouldn't the scratching have been... If Poison Ivy wanted to have somebody scratch. I mean, they even blew that obvious thing.
Okay, coming up next, Hercules, the new Disney animated feature.
When you smile, the girls went wild with Roseanna.
Father, I've beaten every single monster I've come up against. I'm the most famous person in all of Greece. I'm an action figure.
A sly little in-joke about action figures there as Hercules, the Greek god of strength, has a chat with his father Zeus in Hercules, the sassy and entertaining new full-length animated feature from Disney. This is the first time the Disney animators have plundered Greek mythology for a subject, and they found a wealth of rich material, including a first-rate villain. His name is Hades. His voice is done by James Woods, and his hair turns blue or red, reflecting his emotions like a mood ring.
What? The fates are here and you didn't tell me? We are worms! Worms!
A memo to me, maim you after my meeting.
The look of the film is a little different this time. Disney turned to Gerald Scarfe, who was famous in Great Britain for his political caricatures, to suggest an edgier look.
Thing.
That's Danny DeVito's voice as Phil, the little satyr. The evil Hades recruits a beautiful creature named Megara, or Meg for short, to seduce Hercules. And also featured in this scene is Pegasus, Hercules' winged horse, who is friendly, but not very bright.
How'd you get mixed up with the,
Pinhead with hooves? Well, you know how men are. They think no means yes, and get lost means take me, I'm yours.
The theory is that Meg will bamboozle Hercules, but Hades, Pain, and Panic find out it's not going to be that simple.
He comes on with his big innocent farm boy routine, but I could see through that in a Peloponnesian minute.
Wait a minute. Wasn't Hercules the name of that kid we were supposed to? Oh, my God! Run for it! So you took care of him, huh?
One of the movie's nice touches is to supply a Greek chorus in the form of the singing muses, who have the style of a black gospel group.
Back when the world was new, the planet Earth was down on its luck, and everywhere gigantic brutes called Titans ran amok.
Hercules is a wonderfully entertaining movie, overflowing with inspirations from Greek mythology and with a lot of satiric cross-references to more current myths. The movie is brighter and more cheerful than the two most recent Disney animated features, Pocahontas and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and although it lacks the depth and emotion of Hunchback, it is lighter and more playful with a touch that is a real delight.
Well, again, Roger, I was disappointed by a big summer movie. And on the drawing scale, I think you've named the one thing that I did like and the one character that I do like a lot, and that's Hades. It's well done, and James Woods is very good.
Yes,
he does this spritzing that Robin Williams did as well.
Yeah.
And Scarfe's angular look is good. But so much of the film, to me, is soft, rounded animation that I associate with the wannabes of Disney that are so lame. And I'm thinking of the world of Zeus. And I'm thinking of the drawing of Zeus and also Hercules himself. Compare that to The Little Mermaid, I think an underrated film. And compare Zeus, who is a complete bore compared to Triton, King Triton in The Little Mermaid. And The Little Mermaid versus Hercules, boring. The songs, the supporting characters. There isn't a song here that you can hum. I can't hum.
Well, you know,
nothing's memorable on the songs.
I would put Little Mermaid right up at the top along with Beauty and the Beast.
Exactly.
And I would put this one notch down, but I certainly still recommend it. I had a good time. I enjoyed myself.
I
like the mythology. I like the characters. I like the whole tone of the film.
But Roger, respond to some of my criticisms, because I'm getting the sense that you think I'm right. The songs are not memorable. The drawing of the world of Zeus.
I never know if the songs are memorable till I hear them 3 or 4 times. Look at you telling me that Hakuna Matata was going to be on everybody's lips for the rest of the century.
It is, and everyone who heard you said it knows it and can sing it.
No, it's not true.
Okay.
Well, in any event...
That's a ringing defense, by the way, folks, of this movie.
I would be happy to go on and tell you once again that I think this is an extremely entertaining, very pleasant, bright film. It doesn't matter if Zeus is that interesting, because Zeus is not a major character in the way that Triton was.
You're telling story. Do you think Hercules is the least bit interesting as a character?
Yes.
Not me.
Yes, I did.
Not me at all.
Yes, he was.
There we go. Next movie, Julia Roberts returns to the romantic comedy genre that made her a star in My Best Friend's Wedding.
So this means that I have 4 days to make you my new best friend and be my maid of honor? What?
Why not? You're practically the best man anyway.
Julia Roberts is asked to be the maid of honor at a wedding where she'd rather be the bride in My Best Friend's Wedding, a sparkling new comedy with a witty script and 4 memorable characters. The setup is this. Roberts is invited to the wedding of her former lover, who has since become her best friend, and it doesn't hit her until he's spoken for that she really likes him, At the Helmut Jan-designed United Airlines terminal in Chicago, New York food critic Julia Roberts is met by her friend, a sports writer played by Dermot Mulroney, and his fiancée, a college-age wealthy socialite played by the enchanting Cameron Diaz.
Oh, this just makes everything so perfect. From the day I met Michael, all I've heard is Julianne this and Julianne that.
It kills Julia Roberts, of course, that her pal's fiancé is so darn nice.
Would you rather the daffodil? I thought the bridesmaids all wore the same dress.
Not you. You wouldn't be comfortable unless you were distinctive.
What else did he tell you?
Frustrated, she decides to break up the marriage and turns on the charm for her old boyfriend in front of his sports writing colleagues and future father-in-law who owns the Chicago White Sox.
Now remember, it is the duty of the best man to dance with the maid of honor.
Dance? You can't dance. When did you learn how to dance?
I've got moves you've never seen.
Another delightful complication in the story involves an attempt by Roberts to get her old boyfriend jealous. Just before the wedding, she floats the rumor that she's engaged to her magazine editor friend George, played by Rupert Everett, in a very good role. He's a gay man, and he's not, in this movie, the object of jokes.
Underplay.
Got it. Hey! I'm Jules's fiancé, George. Just in time for a quick pre-conjugal visit, if you catch my drift. I do.
You're gonna humiliate me, aren't you?
Only if I can.
Now, the way the stories of these four characters is played out is quite satisfying. Screenwriter Ronald Bast, one of the very finest in the business, he also wrote Rain Man and the Joy Luck Club, has come up with another smart piece of work. My Best Friend's Wedding is funny and sweet, and above all, offers four excellent actors playing their hearts out on screen. I thoroughly enjoyed My Best Friend's Wedding.
I liked it too. Maybe not as much as you did.
I really did.
I do recommend it. And the thing I liked is that it wasn't predictable. At the beginning, I thought it stars Julia Roberts, so she has to wind up with Dermot Mulroney. I thought that those were the rules out in Hollywood, right? The big female star has to wind up with the guy, and it turns out to be a lot more complicated than that. And these people go through a lot of changes, and at one point, what happens to her character and how her character is treated could not have possibly been foreseen by anybody who thought this was a formula picture.
And that's why I credit Ronald Bast.
Yes, you're quite right.
This guy has too much pride, and that's where the challenge should be to other writers. If the best in the business can do this, then challenge yourself.
Yeah, okay, and another interesting character is the Rupert Everett character.
Yes.
He is full-dimensional. He has a lot of fun in the film with himself, with his identity, with his relationship with Julia Roberts, and with the people who are around him. And what he does in the film, especially in the last half hour, really, I think, takes the ending in a whole different direction that's very pleasant. Coming up next, Oscar winner Mercedes Ruehl and Jean Reno star in the romantic comedy For Roseanna. Tells the love story of a man who will do anything to grant his wife's dying wish, which is to be buried in the village cemetery next to their little girl. But there are some complications. For one thing, only 3 graves are left in the cemetery outside an Italian village. For another, the wife is still in fairly good health, and so her husband is terrified that other villagers are going to die first and fill up those graves.
Helmet! Helmet! Oh! Helmet, you're going to get killed!
That is very moving.
It's absurd, and it's all your uncle's fault.
My uncle?
Well, you know he owns the land next to the cemetery, and the church is offered to buy, and he won't sell.
That's John Reno as Marcello, the loving husband, and we saw Polly Walker as his wife's sister, and the late Mark Frankel as the handsome young man who likes the sister. But there's a complication there, too, because Roseanna tells her husband, after I die, I want you to marry my sister. Roseanna is played by Mercedes Ruehl, who won her Oscar for The Fisher King.
I didn't realize you were aware of my sister's assets.
I'm not.
You just said you were.
And in a quiet moment, Roseanna tells of her dreams of being reunited in death with her little daughter.
Don't die, Roseanna.
Only if it's God's will.
For Roseanna isn't an Italian film, but an American film shot in Italy with Italian accents, which is an approach you don't often see. And it's a heartwarmer, a clever mixture of romance and farce. Jean Reno, best known here as the tough star of The Professional and Mission Impossible, has fun here in some scenes that border on farce as he runs around town trying to keep people from untimely death and even hides a corpse to keep the cemetery from filling up. For Roseanna is a small, sweet, funny film.
Yes, it is, and it has as much heart as laughter in it, too, because the way Mercedes Ruehl plays her character, and again, I'm glad you pointed out, it's an American film, and it's convincing, and this this is not an easy thing to do, or it would be done more often, frankly. She plays her character with real emotion, and you feel for her situation.
You know, I was asking myself, why make this an Italian film? Why not put it in an American small town? And I realized the answer is because we feel in this Italian village, everybody knows each other.
Yes.
And they know their parents and their grandparents and their children and all the gossip, including the character of the guy who owns the land that could expand the cemetery, but he won't sell.
That's a good character.
That's a good character, too. So it needs to be there, because in an American village, there'd be more newcomers, and it wouldn't be the same sense of history.
And you'd worry about fear, and why are the people, you know, the threats would be physical and being gunned down and all this stuff of American pop culture
Terrible,
right now.
isn't it? Yeah.
Coming up next, the story of a 4-year-old girl dealing with the death of her mother, and the 4-year-old girl that plays her won a top prize at the Venice Film Festival.
Offering the finest in luxury service in Southern California style, adjacent to Beverly Hills on LA's fashionable West Side, the Century Plaza Hotel and Tower, a Westin hotel.
Our next film is special, an attempt to deal in a fresh way with the issue of early parental loss as we meet the title character in Ponette, a 4-year-old French girl whose mother has been killed in a car crash as the film opens. The child has survived the crash, and the movie is about how the daughter and her father deal with the death. The young child actress, Victoire Tivisol, is a real find, and she plays the part with startling authenticity.
Elle est morte. Moi aussi, je pensais qu'elle serait là tout le temps.
A scene of the child praying for her mother to talk with her after her death is touching, and precisely the literal way children can act in such a situation. At school, however, she's treated very badly by classmates. Ponette concludes with powerful scenes between the dead mother and child, and the teaching that is done is both sensible and sweet. I'm not sure that Ponette offers believable comfort to either parents or children in such a situation. It's more of a stunt-like observation piece, more eavesdropping as we watch this amazing young actress stressed out. She's extraordinary, and I do recommend Ponette on that basis, more for its seize the day and be kind messages than for anything else.
Well, you know, I didn't like the scenes at the end involving the mother, because I thought that involved a miracle, which was sort of cheating, because I think either the mother is dead or she isn't.
Right.
And if she's dead, then she's gone.
That doesn't happen.
And I didn't like that. But what I thought was wonderful about the film was how true it was to the point of view of the little 4-year-old child. It stayed with that child. It didn't add adult insights or adult spins. It's the logic with which kids deal with information that they have coming in and try to put it together and try to make it make sense. The way that it understood how the children think was wonderful.
That's a very good point, and it's because they had this actress who could carry it.
Yes. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. 2 thumbs down for Batman and Robin, which despite its fancy special effects and visual pyrotechnics manages to tell a flat-footed story. A split decision on Hercules, the animated feature. I really enjoyed its light and bright look at Greek mythology, but Gene felt it was not up to the high standards of previous Disney animated films. 2 thumbs up for Julia Roberts and My Best Friend's Wedding, a romantic comedy with sparkling performances. 2 more affectionate thumbs up for Roseanna, with Mercedes Ruehl as a woman whose loving husband will do anything to grant her wish to be buried in the village cemetery. And 2 thumbs up for Ponette, an extraordinary film that enters into the mind of a child whose mother has been killed and is able to recreate how children think and learn. So some good movies this week.
Yes. My Best Friend's Wedding, again, is the romantic comedy that I know big audiences are looking for.
And I know, Gene, that families are going to like Hercules. I liked it.
Roger.
I went with relatives. They liked it.
Don't play that game with me, because I'll stand my family against yours. And my kids didn't like it. If you want to play that.
They didn't like it?
Nope.
They didn't?
Those are
send
great.
Send them over to Uncle Roger's house, and I'll explain it to them.
These are one. You know what? I can see a future.
They've fallen under the sway of the wrong film critic.
Roger, we've got a sequel that will outlive us.
What's that?
My Kids versus Your Family.
Sounds like that would be.
We don't even have to change the title of the show.
That's right. Well, we would, but that's okay. Don't forget, you can now check our votes and hear our reviews of recent movies at our website. The address is www.siskel-ebert.com. That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Face Off, starring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, in an action thriller about exchanged identities.
I don't care if I live.
You're not having any fun, are you, Sean? Try terrorism for hire. We'll blow some stuff up. It's more fun.
And also Head Above Water, starring Harvey Keitel and Cameron Diaz, in a black comedy about marital strife.
He's dead.
It's a perfectly reasonable explanation.
He's naked!
You know, he had a bad heart.
And it just stopped.
That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.